What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Or I guess not welcome back. Welcome to America's Finest Sports. This is the first ever show. We are live on YouTube. We are also live on TikTok. Make sure we got to turn down the volume on TikTok. And then, Matt, have you joined on TikTok? Are you all set?
I think so.
Yes, you are all joined. Perfect. Well, welcome, Matt. We're going to see how this goes, everybody. Welcome in. The goal of this is to be able to talk about not just overall sports, but have a focus on San Diego. I'm rocking the LA Chargers jersey right now, but we're talking about the NFL tonight. And what we're going to be doing, myself and Matt, is we're going to be talking about a couple of different things. First off is Matt's favorite segment. It's the first segment. You guys can see it down below on YouTube. The worst to first. This is the idea of, can a team go from the worst team in the division to the best team in the division in ranking standings. So we'll be talking about every single division, every single worst place team, and their chances of, after all of these moves, how they're going to be performing. Then we're going to be getting into Kyler Murray and his extension. Was that deal worth it? All of those sorts of things. Finally, we'll be talking about the AFC West, and we will be talking about, will it work? We're going to be talking about the moves that they made, the draft picks that they drafted. Is it going to be enough? Because this has become maybe the most competitive division of all of football, and every single team made drastic moves, whether it was the Chargers adding Khalil Mack, whether it was the Chiefs trading away Tyreek Hill, Russell Wilson, Devontae Adams, all these guys joining, leaving the division. We're going to be talking about that as well. But Matt, let's get into it. Let's talk about worst to first, and let's start with the AFC East. The New York Jets, last place in the AFC East. What do you think the odds are that they go from worst to first?
So, first off, am I showing on TikTok? Can everyone see me?
They can't see you, but they can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
I'm
So,
actually going to grab. You go. I'm going to go grab headphones for my phone, so that people on YouTube don't overhear it. But
yeah, that's what I'm trying
set.
to figure that out too.
Yeah, I'm going to go grab
Yeah.
headphones, but you start.
Yeah. So, New York Jets. If I'm looking at the teams that could potentially go from worst to first, the Jets are definitely on the bottom of the list. Maybe not all the way to the bottom, but I'm not expecting them to be a team that actually is being able to make that move. I don't think they're going to go from worst to first. I think that they're maybe not clearly the worst team in that division, but the Bills are such a heavy favorite. And I would be very, very shocked if somehow the Bills don't end up winning that division. I mean, the Dolphins maybe could compete, but I think the Jets did some good stuff. I think that the Jets actually could legitimately compete for a wild card spot, like maybe if the AFC wasn't so stacked. But I think they're trending in the right direction. But until Zach Wilson really proves that he's a good enough quarterback to get them over a Josh Allen led stacked Bills team, I'm not gonna come out here and say like, oh yeah, they're worst to first. There's definitely a couple teams that probably should win the division, maybe, but the Jets are not one of them.
Yeah, I really like the moves that they made. And also, Matt, I think you can turn on your camera on the live on TikTok. But yeah, the Jets made a lot of really good moves. Now, the biggest news with the Jets in the offseason, it actually wasn't. It was not any of the moves. It wasn't any of their great draft picks. It was about the man with the dog in his heart, Mr. Zach Wilson. Now, if what this offseason has told you, does this not show that, he can do anything? So, you got to throw it out there. If anyone's going to do it, it's Zach Wilson. But at the same time, I absolutely don't think he's going to do it. I like the moves that they made. I like the players they brought in. Zach Wilson, they may win a couple more games than they did last year. They only went 4-13 last season. But this year, I'm expecting around the same, 5, maybe 6 wins at the best in a division with the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins, who got better, the New England Patriots, who are coached by Bill Belichick. It's going to be very difficult to win that division if you're the Jets. Could they be better than last year? I think they will be, but I don't think they're going to be going from worst to first. Let's get into the next division, though. Hopefully it's one that has a chance, which would be the AFC North. The last place team in the AFC North was the Baltimore Ravens. Matt, I'll let you start off. I'm the Ravens fan, but, what do you think? The Ravens, worst to first?
So the Ravens are very obviously the number one team, I think, on this list. Now the division's still pretty good. I think a couple teams. I mean, I don't. The Bengals got better, I guess, but the Bengals are probably not going to fare as well in the division just because of all the injuries that happened to the Browns and the Ravens last year. Um, Browns are in a weird spot with the Watson stuff. Steelers now have Mitch Trubisky, and I know you kind of like Mitch there, but I'm not a big fan of Mitch there. The Ravens were the most injured team in the entire NFL last year. They had one of the best draft class out of anyone. They're getting Lamar Jackson back. They're going to actually have a run game this year. I mean, the run game wasn't horrible last year, but they were literally running out practice squad running backs every single week, and the starting 3 guys for them went down. So this is a team that is going to have a completely different identity. Last year, they were constantly, behind in games, and they would come out and Lamar Jackson would have miracle performances that would keep them afloat. This one, when he went down, they were the number 1 team in the entire AFC. So if I'm going to pick a division winner for the AFC North, I'm actually going to pick the Baltimore Ravens. So out of all of the worst to first candidates, I don't even think it's close. I think it's definitely the Ravens as the best one.
Yeah, worst to first is a poor name for them because they weren't the worst team in the division. The B team was the worst team in the division, which was the second half of the year Ravens, where it's Tyler Huntley. That was it. I mean, it was Tyler Huntley. It was Anthony Aver getting burned every play. Marlon Humphrey was hurt. Marcus Peters was hurt. Lamar was hurt. J.K., Gus. Hollywood was hurt for a good chunk of it. Bateman was hurt for a piece of it. Nick Boyle was hurt. Ronnie Stanley was out for the year, and Matt's actually joined. We can see Matt on the video on TikTok now, which is good. But when you're looking at this team, this was, like you said, Matt, it was the best team in the AFC. They had the best record. Their quarterback was on pace for an MVP. He was going out there, and he was slinging the ball, and he had more yards than over half the teams in the NFL through like 6 or 7 games, which, I don't know, that seems like he was doing pretty well. And that was still without players that they have this year that have been on the team, like J.K., Gus, Ronnie Stanley. We're looking at, new right tackle Morgan Moses, who coming out of Washington was a solid offensive tackle. They got better at every position where they struggled at. Even edge rusher, where they've been struggling the last couple of years, Away got older. They re-signed Justin Houston, Tyus Bowser, Dalen Hayes is back, and they drafted a guy out of the University of Michigan named David Ojabo, who should be ready around week 8, week 9, who can help bolster that. This is a team that is right back to the team that went to the, playoffs and beat the Titans and lost to the Bills in a close game until Lamar Jackson got hurt and he got a concussion. They were in that game until he got that concussion, and Tyler Huntley lost like Tyler Huntley does. So I absolutely agree, Matt. This is a team that, if you're looking at it, they are the easy candidate for worst to first. Because, yes, they were the worst team in the division. They had 2 less wins than the Cincinnati Bengals, who won the division. 2 less wins than the Bengals, who went to the Super Bowl. Shout out to them. But if Lamar Jackson doesn't get hurt, the Bengals don't make the playoffs, and nobody talks about Joe Burrow. Nobody talks about Jamar Chase. Nobody talks about anybody on that roster. No one talks about their coach. Because they're just like, oh, yeah. They were better. They had a winning record. Shout out to the Bengals. It's not, this is the greatest Super Bowl contender that we've ever seen. Because I swear, I see them top tier, every tier list for the Super Bowl contenders. It's like the Bengals and the Bills. And I'm like, why are the Bengals there? I like Joe Burrow. I like Joe Shiesty, but come on. The Ravens, when they're healthy, are the best team in that division. And it's not that close. But let's get into the next division. Let's get into a team that has a new head coach.
Real quick.
Yes?
I do want to talk about one aspect of the Ravens. But before that, also the Bengals. It's funny because they've been getting like an absurd amount of hype, and the reason is, of course, they were in the Super Bowl. But if you remember when we were making our and actually this is when you started TikTok too, but when we were making our bets for the playoffs, we kept bringing up, man, the Bengals have the easiest path to the Super Bowl. Look at this. They have the easiest one for sure. Maybe they're a team that could end up sneaking in, and we kept bringing that up over and over, and then sure enough, they do. And now the hype is getting out of control. But
yeah,
The big thing for me with the Ravens, the offensive line is night and day compared to last year. You brought up Morgan Moses. I mean, he's a solid player, but that's a massive improvement over Villanueva last year. Oh my God, dude, that was awful. Ronnie Stanley being banged up, and you got to hope that he's healthy, but having those two tackles is completely different than what they were rolling out for the majority of the season last year. Tyler Linderbaum, fantastic pick. If he projects of what people think he is, like that's a huge spot there. Like to shore up your center position in a team that is going to rely heavily on your ground game. And then I want to ask you, at the guard spots, is it going to be what, Ben Cleveland and Kevin Zeitler probably?
Yeah, it's either going to be Ben Cleveland or Ben Powers. I'm hoping Ben Cleveland. And then, yeah, Kevin Zeitler should be starting at guard. And then the center, Tyler Linderbaum, first round pick, one of the best center prospects ever. But I have a question for you, Matt. You talked about how bad Villanueva was. What's the bigger benefit to the Ravens? Replacing Villanueva or Anthony Averett as a starting outside cornerback?
So, okay, I got to see their depth chart now. Who are they going to roll out at corner? It'll just be
Marlon and Marcus and Kyle Fuller.
Okay, yeah, that's a pretty massive upgrade. I'm still dude. I'm still not going with Villanueva, dude, because I'll take Averett. I don't think Averett's very good, but Villanueva, dude, it was. Oh my God! Every play, guys in Lamar's face every single time. It does not matter who it is. That edge player is going to win 1-on-1 every single time. So.
And the old heads are all like, Lamar can't stay healthy. Bro, you put anybody. Andrew Luck couldn't stay healthy. Why? Because he had 0 blocks. Lamar went out there and his line got pancaked. Like, that was it. It was like Madden when you guess pass and they run the ball. Everyone's on the ground. That was the Ravens' offensive line last year. But let's get into the next division. Let's get into the AFC South. The Jacksonville Jaguars, benefit is they got rid of the kicker. Not their kicker. Their head coach, the kicker, Urban Meyer. They get back their first-round pick running back last year, which, should he have been a first-round pick to the Jaguars? Absolutely not. But you know what? Travis Etienne is coming back to them. They have, future superstar that, I don't know, they paid him superstar money, so maybe. Christian Kirk. Will they be able to surpass the Tennessee Titans, who won the division last year at 12 wins, when the Jaguars had 3 wins? Or are they going to easily be the worst team in that division again?
I don't know if they're going to be the worst team because the Texans are there, but when you're looking at an offseason and you look at all the money that they spent, oh yeah, they got these 2 marquee wide receivers in free agency to really help Trevor Lawrence's adjustment to the pros, and Zay Jones and Christian Kirk. Like, you got to be kidding me, dude. Like, this is one of the most like outrageous off seasons I can remember, of just like, wow, this is not really an upgrade for your team, and apparently that's you guys are spending a bunch of money to maybe not upgrade this team. So even Trayvon Walker, the idea to pick him so high, like a lot of people were like, that was a bad pick.
I agree.
You guys see the Niner flags back here, the banners and stuff. Trent Balk was the GM for the Niners, and it ended in a complete dumpster fire. And I'm very concerned for Trevor Lawrence. That's what's ahead of him. I don't have faith in this team. I think they're awful.
I have a question, Matt. Did Trent Balk draft a particular defensive lineman over a lot of really good players?
Yes, he did.
Oh, really?
And that. Okay, that is a comparison. I mean, that's Alden Smith. That is a comparison. But Trent Balk also whiffed on a bunch of picks too. So, like, yeah, we can bring up his nice pick, but we can also bring up all the times he whiffed.
1 for 9.
And also drafted players with torn knees, which we have now seen many. That's what they did last year. So, I don't know, man. I don't think there's really a chance, but This is also a super weak division. So if Trevor Lawrence is just like the guy that we thought he was coming out of school, I guess you never know, but the team is just so bad. I could not see it happening.
Yeah, looking at them and the Texans, I do think they're going to jump the Texans because both rosters suck. But I feel like the weapons and the quarterbacks are a significant advantage for the Jacksonville Jaguars, because wrong way. You guys can see it behind me on pointing the wrong way. On YouTube, you can see the Stanford ball behind me. I'm a Stanford football fan. I love Stanford. I hate Davis Mills. I don't think he's good at all. I think he's wildly inconsistent. He can make some great throws. Like, they'll show Davis Mills throws and it'll be like, wow, that's Mahomes-esque. That's Stafford, that rocket arm. And then you won't watch him because it's the Texans. And it's like, why did he miss 3 checkdowns in a row throwing them in the dirt? Like, he is wildly inconsistent. Trevor Lawrence, he makes a lot of flashes. The problem with Trevor Lawrence isn't inconsistency. It's that he believes that he can make every throw in the book. He's the Brett Favre gunslinger type. And when you're a rookie, that's going to happen. I think he gets a little bit more conservative. I think he has a check down in Travis Etienne that he is very comfortable with. He showed it all his years at not LSU, at Clemson. He shows that he knows he can get him the ball at any point in time, and they're going to be able to win. Davis Mills is rocking out with Brandon Cooks. Good. Nico Collins. I like Nico Collins at Michigan, so I'm not going to hate on him, but like that's about it when you're looking at them. Like, their running back game, not amazing. The Jacksonville Jaguars have weapons, and they have some defensive playmakers because they also have, a young guy by the name of Josh Allen. Maybe the best Josh Allen in the AFC, because one-on-one against other Josh Allen, he very clearly took the one-on-one W. But do you have anything else to go on the AFC South?
There we go. I couldn't unmute for some reason. No, I think I don't know. When I look at this one, I don't have a lot of faith in them. Their secondary is abysmal. It is horrible. The only guy there it's like that great is Shaq Griffin. I guess Tyson Campbell's intriguing because he was a second rounder last year, but
they also have Andre Sisco. Keep an eye out for Andre Sisco.
Really?
I believe 4th round pick out of Syracuse. Third round pick out of Syracuse. That guy's a baller. That guy, when the ball is in the air, he is someone that can make some big plays. Now, I don't think he's a game-changing player, but he's not bad. Or I felt like he wouldn't be bad. I didn't watch a lot of Jaguars last year, so I can't clarify on if he was great last year or not. But I liked him coming out of Syracuse.
Yeah, so I don't know. Once again, this is similar to the Jets. I just don't think this team's ready. And honestly, like, based on their offseason, I don't know. I don't know how much better they really got. Like, the Jets, I feel really confident. Like, yep, they're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
I don't feel the same way about the Jags. So they were like a very easy no, only because the Titans exist and the Colts exist. But I don't think there's a chance that they pass up one of those two teams. Yeah,
the only thing that we know for sure is that they beat the Colts at home. Because for some reason, they've beaten the Colts at home, I think, 6 years in a row. So, shout out to all the people that bet them week 16 or 17 last year when they knocked the Colts out of the playoffs. But let's get into the next division. The most competitive division in the AFC, definitely, probably in the NFL, the AFC West. Because the Denver Broncos were 7-10 last year. Chiefs went 12-5. The Denver Broncos added the guy you're very familiar with in Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, is he in his prime? I think so. I think he's in his late prime. I think he's in his prime. But the one thing he's done consistently throughout his entire career has been win. And you give him a base roster that went 7-10. Because the rosters he's been playing with, right when Russell Wilson left, what did everyone say about those rosters? This is the worst team in the NFL. This team isn't going to win a single game. This team is horrible. Right when Russell Wilson left. That's all they got rid of. They changed quarterbacks to a young quarterback in Drew Lock. That's all they did. All of a sudden, they're horrible. Is Russell Wilson and his motivating, game-breaking, heart-pumping, make you run through a brick wall, Broncos country less ride mentality going to be able to win that division?
Okay, they're tough because the reason why I have the Ravens as the clearest number one team for this is because of the other division opponents.
Yeah.
They're in the toughest division, like you mentioned. That is very obvious. You have the Chargers who made significant upgrades. We're going to talk about all these upgrades later, too. You got the Raiders. You got the Chiefs, of course, and the Chiefs might have lost some, but you're still rocking out with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. So you're going to put up points, that's for sure. When I look at the Broncos, I think you can make the case that they're a better team than the Ravens. However, they're in a division that's so tough. So what it's really going to come down to is how healthy are they? How good is the offensive line? Because before the last 2 years, it was really bad year after year after year in Denver, and they have got some improved offensive line play. So they've been better. It's not the best, but Garrett Bowles definitely took big turnaround over the last couple of years because his first few years in the league, he was one of the worst tackles out of every fucking tackle. It was crazy. And now he had like the most absurd amount of holding penalties, I think it was, for Bulls, but he's in a much better spot. I'm a little bit concerned about part of their defense. Now, they have a legit no-fly zone. Their secondary is so good, but their defensive line, like they have a couple guys I like, but outside of Bradley Chubb, there's not really any stars there. They signed DJ Jones, who's former 49er, really solid 0 or 1 tech kind of nose tackle guy. Linebackers, they have right now, apparently their starting linebackers are going to be Jonas Griffith and Josie Jewell, who Jonas Griffith was like a fourth or fifth linebacker on the Niners during camp last year, and they traded him to the Broncos. Josie Jewell, coming out of Iowa, kind of a guy that's not a great pass coverage guy. So they're a little bit limited on the defensive side of the ball, but I absolutely love their secondary. I think they're a prime candidate for a team that might go and make like a move for either a backer or a D end or whatever it is at the deadline. But I am a little bit concerned about their defense, but the reason why I think that they're a playoff team, I do think they're a playoff team. I don't know if they win the division just because I think I don't know who wins that division. I think 3 teams make the playoffs and a random one wins the division. I don't know who it is. I would probably put my money on the Chiefs just because I'm not ever selling the Chiefs again after last year. But I don't know. You lose Tyreek too, so we'll talk about that later. But I think the biggest thing for me of why I think that they're a playoff team is because of the Russell Wilson receiver core combo. And I'm not talking, oh, he's got Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. I'm talking he's got Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, and KJ Hamler. And that is absolutely disgusting. This is by far the best receiving core he's had. And if we want to kind of do a little, extension of those wide receivers, you also have Alberto, who Broncos fans like quite a bit as a tight end, solid guy. Greg DeLuche coming out of UCLA. I think I said his last name right. Mm-hmm. But the big thing is, out of the backfield, you also have Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. So they are so stacked from a weapon standpoint that, yes, there's some holes in their defense, but they have a great secondary. They have a star pass rusher in Bradley Chubb, and the offensive skill positions it is such a difference from what Russell Wilson has had throughout his entire career in Seattle. I mean, he had, Doug Baldwin. He's had the recent receiving core has been the best with Lockett and Metcalf, but this completely blows it out of the water. And especially when you bring in those 2 running backs, like this is the most talented running back backfield in the entire NFL. Maybe not the best as a complementary pieces. You can also toss in the Browns there too. But I think Melvin Gordon is heavily underrated. Mm-hmm. And I think Javonte showed that he's going to be one of the premier backs in the league last year, and that might even happen this year. But Melvin Gordon can start on a lot of teams in the NFL. So I think that's there. I guess they're the second because the Browns are stupidly talented there.
Yeah.
But then receiving cores, I don't know if there's a deeper receiving core than what they're rocking out. It is pretty incredible.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at it, I'm going to say without a doubt, I think they win their division. And I have a reason for that. If you're looking at the entire NFL, and you're looking at what the Denver Broncos were looking at last year, they were looking to add a quarterback, or at least this offseason. There were a couple of guys that they could potentially trade for. They could trade for Aaron Rodgers, was the big name. They could risk it all and go with a Deshaun Watson. They could maybe go for a Baker. They could go for a Sam Darnold. Or they could go for Russell Wilson. They ended up going with Russell Wilson, who I think is on the same level as Aaron Rodgers, especially right now. Like, I think Russell Wilson, for some reason, people don't see this guy as a top 5 quarterback. I think without a doubt he's a top 5 quarterback. He's had to do it all for 8 years, basically. He's been that entire team. And if I'm looking at every team in the NFL, the scariest team to play in a high-scoring shootout is the Denver Broncos, without a doubt in my mind. When you're putting up points and your offenses are moving, there is no one scarier than Russell Wilson in a shootout. I guess I get some people will say, oh, it's Mahomes. Oh, it's Justin Herbert. It's Aaron Rodgers. It's Tom Brady. Russell Wilson. I have a firm, passionate hatred towards the Seattle Seahawks. The amount of times that I have been just rooting for this man to lose. And all of a sudden, they're just like, they just keep putting up points. They keep putting up points. They keep putting up points. They keep doing that. Then you mix that, right? I didn't say highest scoring offense. I said high scoring games. Because what's going to happen when you get into those 35-35 games late in the fourth quarter? You have a secondary with playmakers at every single position. Why did the Chiefs lose in the last game of their season last year against the Cincinnati Bengals? What happened, Matt? High-scoring game?
You can't trust your secondary. That's been their problem, and it's been their problem late in games. And they don't have, I mean, they have Chris Jones, but they don't have another guy to really like make a big play.
And what happened for the Cincinnati Bengals secondary? Did they get an interception in overtime when everyone complained, how dare you not change the coin toss rule? It's unfair. If a guy like Patrick Mahomes wins the coin toss, automatic win. Secondary in a high-scoring game made the difference, made the play. Well, you have Russell Wilson, who is borderline unstoppable, with the game on the line. About the best in the NFL, probably the best in the NFL, alongside great weapons on offense and defense, and in an atmosphere like Denver where, man, those moon balls, they're no longer going 55 yards, they're going 75 yards, which makes them even scarier when you got KJ Hamler running underneath them. So I absolutely think they're going to win that division because those divisional games are going to be high scoring and they're going to be shootouts. Look at every divisional game between all those teams last year that are close, between the Chargers, the Raiders, and the Denver Broncos. They're all high scoring. Let's get into the NFC, though. We're going to run through these a little bit faster. We've been going a little bit slow. We're having too much fun in the first ever show. Appreciate Mike on TikTok. He knows I hate Russell Wilson. Love watching him play, but I also hate watching him play because he always wins. New York Giants in the NFC East, 4-13. Dallas Cowboys won that division at 12-5. Matt, I don't think Met fans will get too mad at this, but let's go New York. I think that's a that's a very popular phrase in New York. That's a little bit blocked off. But do you think the Giants? Do you think they're ready? They got Thibodeau, in my opinion, the clear best player in this draft.
So first off, it's Let's Go Mets. All right, don't screw it up. They own the trademark Let's Go team. But no, the Giants. I mean, so I have a few Giant friends out here because I do live in New York, and I think I'm talking to them. And they're like extremely pessimistic about the Giants' future. Like they have no faith in the Giants turning it around. Like, yeah, whatever, they suck. Like it just is how it is. I'm very excited for the Giants' future. Now, a lot of people, okay, Daniel Jones gets taken, was it 6 overall? Embarrassing pick. Awful pick. Terrible, right? That's what I thought. I'm kind of coming around on Daniel Jones right now. It took me a little while. But I am coming. I'm liking it. You go and you get Dabo.
For anybody that hasn't seen any of Matt's content, Matt has been slandering Daniel Jones for the last 2 years, like uncontrollably. Like, oh, you're a Giants fan? This is the worst quarterback you could have ever taken. So this is big.
But keep in mind, the reason why I've been saying a lot of that is because it wasn't like it was just Daniel Jones, but it's like, oh, the Giants are going to make the playoffs. Do you remember that last offseason? The Giants are going to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
like, dude, get out of here. This is the stupidest take there is. I forget which team is getting that this year. I'm trying to think of who it is. Oh, the Eagles. The Eagles are getting it this year. So there you go, Giants fans. You're welcome. But I really like what the Giants are doing. I don't think they're going to win the division. However, I think that because the NFC is not that – it's very top-heavy, then it falls off pretty hard. They could compete for the division if the Cowboys take a step back, which could happen. I don't know how much I would bank on the Cowboys being worse than the Giants. I don't think that's going to be the case. But the Giants could kind of flirt around 500 this year. I think they're going to be a lot better. There's a couple factors, I think. One would be, of course, is Saquon Barkley a lot more healthy because he didn't really look that healthy last year coming off the ACL. Now, sometimes it takes a little while. He came back really fast. And the other guy, Kadarius Toney, is Kadarius Toney going to be a star, or is he going to be kind of a hothead wide receiver? I think that's really huge. I don't think we're going to know that for a while. You also get Evan Neal early. Like, I like their draft. Kayvon Thibodeau. I know some people did not like the way that they drafted. I thought it was fine. I still thought they added a ton of talent. I am a little bit concerned about Thibodeau in New York, though, just because he's kind of been known as one of those guys that's a little bit more about the other stuff besides football. And I don't know how much we know about that yet, but there's definitely been questions. And going to a place like New York with that media all around you, that can be a little bit overwhelming as a rookie. So I don't know how sold I am on Thibodeau yet. In terms of the talent, 100%. He's all the talent in the world. He can be an absolute stud. But this defense is not very good. They're going to have their work cut out for him. Who's it? Martindale's their DC. You can talk a little bit more about him, but I don't know if they're worst to first, but I definitely like them more. I definitely think they have a better chance than like the Jets and the Jags.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair. I think they're in a division that's actually going to be pretty close this year. The Commanders, I don't think they're amazing, but I think they definitely got better. They can win some divisional games. The Eagles, they got better. I think they can win some divisional games. I think the Giants, they can win some divisional games. So I think it's going to be very similar to the Baltimore Ravens in the NFC North last year, or the AFC North last year, where it's like 2 games separate first and last. Kind of like it's been in the NFC East the last few seasons, other than last year. It's been, it was like, oh, wow, we got 6 wins. How come we didn't make the playoffs, which was kind of ridiculous. But overall, it's been very close and down to the wire, and we always get to see those Eagles-Giants games in primetime in Week 17 and 18 because, it's got playoff implications, even though they both sucked over the last couple of seasons. It's been a division that's been close, and I think it will be close. I think they do have a chance. I don't think it'll happen because I think the Cowboys are the best team in that division still. I probably think the Commanders are the second best. Sorry to the Jalen Hurts fans out there, but I don't think he's that guy. And Matt, you know this. I was big on Jalen Hurts coming out of college. I was big.
Dude, I gotta interrupt you real quick because you bring that up. I will stand with that statement as well. That the Commanders are the second best team.
Yeah,
and you also bring up Jalen Hurts. I love the pick. Everyone was like, "Oh, look, the Eagles are so stupid. What a dumb pick. You waste a second round on this guy." I'm like, dude, he's definitely worth a second round pick.
Yeah.
And then you look what happens with Carson Wentz, and it was the right move, but he is getting outrageous hype. He might have the weakest arm out of every single starting quarterback in the NFL, and I don't think people realize that. He does not have a strong. Maybe Dak now. Dak looks kind of shot. Matt Ryan, like there's a couple guys that come up, but like he's definitely one of those guys.
But the scary thing is he's in his, he's supposed to be up and coming into his prime, and he doesn't have that, a super strong arm. Whereas like guys like Matt Ryan, Drew Brees late in his career, Peyton Manning late in their career, like it was like, okay, they're super old, but they are so smart they're able to get it done because they've been playing in the league for 15 years. Hurts has really only been a starter for a year and a half, 2 years. And he has not really shown a lot. He's run the ball. He's been pretty good. Like, I'm not saying he's been horrible. He's been able to win some games for them. He's made some plays. I like Hurts. But to think that he is, like, this is the team to beat in that division, I think is a little bit outrageous. I love their weapons, though. I've been saying this ever since the draft happened. A.J. Brown is the best receiver from that draft class. It's not DK. It's not Debo. It's not Terry McLaurin. It's not Hollywood Brown. It's A.J. Brown. I think he is, without a doubt, the best receiver from that draft class. I love him. I love Devontae Smith. I felt like he was better than Jalen Waddle last year. Even though Waddle had the stats, I felt like I saw more out of Devontae Smith. I like the Eagles. But I just don't see them, getting that far. I think that they're all going to be right around 9-10 wins. But I don't see the Giants winning it, but I think there's definitely a chance that they are in the race at least.
One thing on the Eagles real quick. 2 things. So, 1, the Jalen Hurts RPO play is going to be one of the most disgusting plays in the league when he decides to either tuck it, hand it off, do whatever he wants, or hit A.J. Brown with that slant because, it used to be the most nasty play was when the Titans would run RPOs.
The play action.
Yes. But when they'd hit A.J. Brown in the middle, when the linebackers would step up and go get Henry, right? That's going to be one of the most disgusting plays. But also you bring up Devontae Smith. The reason Devontae Smith struggled so much, or didn't struggle, but had a lack of numbers, is because he's running wide open downfield and can't get the ball to him. I think that it helps a lot to have AJ Brown because he can kind of do it all. Like he can be a great underneath receiver. He can be fantastic in the middle of the field, but it does kind of seem like up until that move, this roster was not designed for Jalen Hurts at all. But with adding AJ Brown, it does help a lot. So
yeah. Let's get into the next division, and I think this will be the quickest division. The Detroit Lions, 3-13. Green Bay Packers, 13-4. I know we're both big on the Minnesota Vikings going into this year. The Lions made some good picks. I've been saying this for a while. Jameson Williams, if he hadn't gotten hurt, he could have potentially been the best rookie or best receiver prospect in the last 10, 15 years. That is including Jamar Chase. Jameson Williams. Matt, you're laughing. Jameson Williams is one of the fastest receivers in college football history. He's a filthy route runner. He's got good hands. Like, he is the complete total package. He does not have the size of Jamar Chase. That's the one thing he is lacking. I believe Jameson Williams is about 5'11", 6 foot. He's not undersized. This guy is a complete prospect, and then he had the significant injury in the college football playoff championship game. Without that injury, he is probably a top 6 pick in the draft. Like, he is up there with the best. Now, maybe he's not as good as Jamar Chase as a draft pick, but I think he's better than anybody else in the last 10 years, probably since, the Julio Jones era. Like, he is up there as one of the best in recent memory prior to injury. So, I love the moves that they made. Now, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown has gotten, like, an obscene amount of hype. Like, I felt like he was okay his rookie year, but all of a sudden I'm seeing, like, Amon-Ra St. Brown, like, year 2 is going to go crazy. And DeAndre Swift has been getting more hype than anyone that I've, see at running back. It's like, oh, this guy's going to be the top 5 running back this year. And it's like, okay. I completely disagree because he's not been efficient. The only time, people are looking at, well, in fantasy football, he was good. Yeah, because they were down by 28 points, and they were checking it down to him in the flats, and he was getting 15, 20 yards of reception because they were down by so much. So, Matt, Detroit Lions, worst to first. What do you think?
I mean, worst to third. They're better than the Bears, right? Like, that's about as high as I could go with them. I actually do think the Lions, I don't know, they're intriguing because they were in so many games last year. Like, their roster's just not. It's so bad defensively, dude. It's so bad. They're building up their offensive line all right. I mean, they got Taylor Decker, they got Frank Ragnow, of course, Penny Sewell. The receivers looking pretty solid. I think Goff gets a little bit too much crap than he deserves. I don't think he's special. I think Swift is sweet. Hutchinson, good ad, right? Like, but they're just not close to being ready. Dan Campbell does get a lot of hype for being like one of the worst teams in the league. I think that your Jameson Williams take is a little bit too much. I thought
I'm going to back off on Jamar Chase. He's not better than Jamar Chase, but okay. I think other than Jamar Chase, I think he's the best probably since Julio. 10 years or so.
So, I don't think he's the best wide receiver in this draft class. I think Drake London was better. And I love Drake London too. I think that if you see him at Bama, it looks a little different. Here's my problem with Williams. And not to knock on Williams, but John Michie was their number 1 wideout when they were both on the field. Before that, Devontae Smith was their number 1 wideout when they were both on the field. So when this guy has had to beat out... Who was
the number 1 running back at the University of Alabama when Najee Harris was there? It was Josh Jacobs. Like, Najee Harris wasn't the one. Najee Harris kept being the backup running back, goes into the draft. Oh, boom.
Okay, but keep in mind, Najee was a starter for the last year. He was started for the last year. Michie and Williams were both there. I'm just saying, like, it's hard. I'm not saying that he's not good. I'm just saying it's hard to give him that much love. That's all I'm saying.
You're gonna be really surprised.
Hey, I hope I am. I really like. I think the combo too with Amon-Ra St. Brown is really sweet. I like what they're doing. I like the way they build up this team. I know there's a lot of people that don't love Hutchinson super early like that. I think it's a good pick. I mean, they're trying to build some culture there. I think they're doing a good job with that. But once again, a team that's a little bit ways away. Would I be surprised if they won 7 or 8 games? No, I wouldn't be surprised at all, actually. But that's also not going to get you to first place. The Vikings are a very good team. The Packers aren't very good, but they have Aaron Rodgers, so they're going to be in the mix for sure. I mean, and the Packers, yeah, they lost some guys, but they still have some really good pieces. But I don't know. I don't think that they have a chance for worst to first.
All right, let's get into the second to last division, the NFC South. Because this was a team that we loved last year. The Carolina Panthers. The undefeated team prior to Christian McCaffrey's injury. They finished 5-12. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tom Brady finished 13-4. What are your thoughts on the Panthers coming into this season? Because they now have Baker and Sam Darnold.
Well, first off, I think that you might see Sam Darnold not be a part of this team. Because they also have Matt Corral. I like Matt Corral's tape a lot. He played on an awful team and was basically running for his life. And the way that he's kind of built is that he's supposed to sit in the pocket and let it rip. And he wasn't even able to do that, not playing in a good system for him. Now, the Panthers are not going to be a good system for him right now to do that either. So don't think they're quite ready for him. I think he's going to take a year or so. I think Darnold's the odd man out in this group, though. I don't know if they keep all three, but Baker's the clear starter. I mean, this is what I was thinking about the other day, and let me know what you think, because Baker, like a year and a half ago, was talked about as, this guy, he saved the Browns, he did all this, and then he played a full season injured, and we don't know how he's going to come back from a lot of his shoulder stuff. He plays a whole season injured with not a good team because they're so banged up. They have I think there was a game where they didn't have an eligible tackle playing. Like they had a guy that was a legit guard kicked out to tackle because like 2 guys got hurt in the game and they were already shorthanded another guy. So like he was playing with one of the worst receiving cores of all of the offenses in the entire NFL, one of the worst groups. Yeah, they had a bunch of tight ends that were nice and they had a couple good running backs, but they didn't have an offensive line. They didn't have a good receiving core. Like the team was just not there. Adding Baker for this Panthers team should be night and day. Another kind of aspect of it, and he's not the best guy. And now I'm blanking on his name. What's the name of their corner they brought in? The dude that was on the Giants. No. Coordinator. No, it's not Jason Garrett. It's what's his name, dude? He was the head coach for the Giants. Now I'm blanking. Let me get this other chart up. But basically, it's an upgrade because Joe Brady was horrendous last year, absolutely horrendous. So, it's Ben McAdoo, not great, but he's like at least been in the game for a bit, right? Like Joe Brady was completely lost. Like he had no chance, and a lot of people were like, and I thought he was going to be sweet. Like I was like, this is he was so great at LSU. You learn real quick. Yeah, there was a couple guys there that were making it tick at LSU, and it was not Joe Brady. That is for sure. So I like this team to be definitely better than the Falcons. Probably not better than the Saints and the Bucks, though. I mean, they can flirt with a wild card spot. Now the big thing is Christian McCaffrey going to be healthy? Because I mean, we see the difference in that offense when he's on the field and when he's not. The defense is also still pretty damn good. Like they have some playmakers. Like they have DJ Moore. Like they have a lot of good pieces, but it just seems like they can't get it together. I don't really believe in Matt Rule, so for that reason, I'll probably take the Saints over them, and I'll probably take the Bucks over them. But I do think they could end up beating out the Saints. The Bucks, I don't see that happening unless Brady was to go down. But not the. I think they're maybe the best worst to first candidate. No, they're second best. I would rather have to take the Giants going worst to first than the Panthers going worst to first. Makana, you're
I'm
muted.
muted. Thank you to Johnny Rocket in the chat. But I love what the Carolina Panthers did because they had they added Baker Mayfield. They have Christian McCaffrey. Baker Mayfield is great with the run game. Now we can check it down to Christian McCaffrey when the run game doesn't work, and he has a deep threat to get behind the defense and Robbie Anderson. He's going to roll out of the pocket. He's going to hit the tight end. He's going to hit the running back, and he's going to hit the deep ball. I think they're going to be very solid. I think a couple of seasons ago, 2 seasons ago, they drafted all defensive players. They started with Derek Brown, and they just kept going. That's all they drafted. These guys are now going into their second NFL season. Like that's beneficial. First year, like playing defense in the NFL is hard as a rookie, especially when everyone else around you is also rookies. Luke Kuechly retired. There was no defensive leader on that team. Then they come out the next season. They draft a guy. Actually, it's going to be their third season. It's going to be their third season now. They draft a guy by the name of J.C. Horn. Now, should he have been the first cornerback drafted? It's going to be their second year? No, it's not.
J.C. Horns, yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about... No, but 2 years ago is when they drafted... Or I guess it's 3 years ago. When they drafted Derek Brown. They drafted Derek Brown in the first round. The next year, they drafted J.C. Horn. So it's going to be the all-defense draft class. It's coming into their third year. J.C. Horn's draft class, where they also drafted some offensive players, because they drafted Tommy Tremble, I believe, that year. Last season. So they have... And Chuba Hubbard and all those guys. When you come in as a rookie defensive player and you have zero assistance from veterans... Because who were the veterans there on that defense? It was Brian Burns. Like, Brian Burns is it, and Brian Burns is a great pass rusher in the NFL. Super underrated. Now, all of a sudden, these guys like Derek Brown, they're, having to come in, and this is the year where we find out, are they actually going to be solid? And J.C. Horn got injured last season. And we're going to see, did they make the right pick or not? I think they made the wrong pick. I felt like guaranteed they needed to go Micah Parsons, but they went with J.C. Horn, which they should have gone with Pat Surtain. Besides the point, they're going to have an improved defense because they just have more experience. Are they going to be great? No. But they at least aren't going to be all rookies anymore, which is a big difference because throwing rookies out there is going to be very tough when you're trying to win games. I don't think they're going to win the division. I don't think they're better than the Saints, and they're definitely not better than the Bucs. But I think they're far and away better than the Atlanta Falcons. So, worst to third candidate right there from the Carolina Panthers. Let's get into the final division. I'm going to bring out this hat for this team. Don't let anybody see this hat for the Ravens. Because when I can, I celebrate the Seahawks' failures. Right? This is the worst team in the NFL, probably. And I'm very happy about it. Matt, are the Seahawks going worst to worst?
Absolutely. I will actually say that I think that the Falcons are maybe a worse team, but I don't care. I hope the Seahawks are the worst team in the league. It's been a long time coming. I want to see that really bad. Drew Lock, terrible. I already see Seahawks fans talking about how Drew Lock's going to be pretty solid with their receiving core and stuff. Dude, Tyler Lockett's going to be out of there by week 8. DK Metcalf could be on his way out too. The defense is not good. This is a really
DK
bad
Metcalf
team.
has a better chance of pulling a Geno Smith breaking his hand, punching his teammate Drew Lock, than making the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, this is going to be a horrible team. I'm very happy that the Seahawks are going to be bad for a while. I also love that they used draft capital early on to go get a running back. I don't know, dude. I don't really see it with this team at all. You get Charles Cross, Kenneth Walker. Like they got a good amount of pieces, but really not anyone that crazy. Like their drafting has been so bad lately. Their starting corners week 1 right now are projected to be Artie Burns, who he was on the Steelers. He was a big time bust, first round pick, and Sidney Jones. Like that's just not good. And all right, you got Quandre Diggs as your best defensive play. It's just really bad, dude. Jordan Brooks, I guess they really like Jordan Brooks. He's been pretty solid.
Jordan Brooks is solid.
Yeah, he's been solid. And we'll see a couple guys that they drafted. I don't know, man. They're not going to be good. I think you're going to see. I mean, I think Lockett is maybe the easiest lock to get traded out of any skill position player, probably any player in the NFL. Like that is the most obvious one ever. But the thing is, got to remember this because they're probably going to end up winning a few games and they're not going to be the worst team in the league. Pete Carroll does not tank. And even though this roster is going to suck, he's going to win a couple games where you're going to look and go, or they're going to win a couple games where you're going to go, wow, I have no idea how the Seahawks won that game. And it's going to be like a Thursday night game against, like a team like
Here's
the
how
Niners
the Seahawks won
or
that game.
Rams or someone. Yeah, it's just going to be maybe, yeah. But yeah, no, they're not winning anything. They're terrible.
Yeah, the Seattle Seahawks, atrocious. And it's fantastic. Matt, let's get into our next segment. We're probably only going to do one more segment. We'll push the Will It Work segment back probably a week, or maybe we'll do it at some point later this week. But let's talk about Kyler Murray, because Kyler Murray got his big contract. Matt, what do you think about this contract? And do you want to go over the details for the people that haven't seen the massive deal?
Yeah. So I can go over the deal. So I have it pulled up right here. Basically, contract is a 5-year, $230 million deal. He's going to make, what is it? His cap hit for the next couple years. I'll go through it. Next year is going to be $12 million, $16 million, 51, 45, 55, 43. Then there's an opt out, and then that year he would make 46. So I want to say first off, you guys see I'm a Niners fan. I've watched Kyler Murray quite a bit. I really like Kyler Murray coming out of school too. I thought that it made perfect sense for him to go number 1 overall. I was also very happy because Nick Bosa fell to number 2. I was stoked about that, but I thought it made sense for the Cardinals. I thought it was a good move. I liked it. I said, all right, this is a good direction for them. And if you remember, Kyler Murray comes out, first ever career game, looks horrible. Absolutely terrible in the first half. If you remember that, everyone's like, dude, what is this guy doing? They drafted this tiny quarterback. He looks like he is completely outmatched. Comes out in the second half, balls out. I don't remember if they won that game. I think they might have, but basically had this crazy comeback. I don't remember if they ended up winning.
I think they started 0-3-1 to start the season, if I'm correct.
Maybe I think they tied that game. I think they tied that game.
It
and
might
they
have
missed
been the
on
tied
I think
game,
it was
yeah.
a field goal. Yeah, but basically they comes out and it's kind of like really up and down. You're like, oh, like, and they're not a good team. But in the last couple of years, they've been a lot better. Probably should have made the playoffs. Not last year, but the year before. They end up losing a game that kind of is annoying to me because I was hoping for a better draft spot because that was the year when the Niners were injured. But the Niners beat them late in the season. And then you see what happens last year. Late season implosion, right? Both of these years, Kyler Murray has got injured late in the year. And I don't know really why they gave him this deal right now. They could have waited till next offseason. They could have franchised him. They could have used the Cardinals could have used some of their leverage besides sort of giving in to Kyler being like, give me a deal or I'm holding out. Because I don't know what about – I think Kyler Murray is so talented. I think he is one of the most talented – I think he is a clear top – maybe not clear, but I think in terms of talent, probably a top 7, top 8 quarterback in the league, just in terms of talent. The problem is that he is not – I don't think he's going to be healthy. I think that this issue they're having where they fall apart late in the season, I think one of it is because Cliff is horrible late in the season, but I also think it's because Kyler Murray is not the same guy come to January, December, February. Like, he's not the same guy. He's really not. He's banged up. He looks slower. He looks like he can't really move as well. And you saw in that Rams playoff games last year, I mean, it was over. Like, they were so cooked. And you see that at kind of in like that back like 4 to 6 games of the year too. And you saw that the year before, and you're going to see that in the next couple of years. And I think you're going to look up and go, why did the Cardinals do that? Yeah, Kyler's real talented, but they're not going to win anything with him. And that's the part I'm kind of concerned about. I could be completely wrong. They could definitely win with him because he is that talented of a player. But we're looking at someone that's just not – I don't think he's going to be on the field 100% when it matters most. And that's why it's hard to justify giving a guy a deal when, one – there is legit concern about his size and ability to stay healthy. And then 2, in the first couple of years, he hasn't been healthy, and he's been kind of a locker room issue. Like, I just don't see why they kind of gave in to his demands of, you got to give me a deal now. I thought it was a little bit premature in terms of the money and stuff. I mean, I think that's what he was going to get, but I think they should have just waited a little bit to be like, how about you prove it to us first that you could make it through a full season healthy? Because I think that in 3 years, we might look back on this and go, hey, Kyler's still not been healthy. Like, I would not be surprised if we end up saying that.
I think franchises across sports have given in, and they have allowed the athletes to have too much control. We see it in baseball, trade deadline coming up Tuesday, AFS show, quick plug for the show that we're doing right now. But we see it with Juan Soto. I'm out, right? Trade me. We see it in basketball. Kevin Durant sends a 4-year extension. I'm out. We see it in football. Kyler Murray. Trade me, or I will not play for you. And and big market teams, they can handle that, right? If you're, let's see, who's a big market team in the NFL? If you're the, I guess, Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers did it, right? Aaron Rodgers says, get me out. Like, I'm done with you. I am completely done. And the Green Bay Packers did not shy away. And they said, you're going to play for us. We're going to restructure your deal. Play this year for us. That's all we're going to do. Play this year. Rodgers no longer is sitting out. After the year, they go, that wasn't so bad, was it? Resign. He goes, all right, I'll give you 2 more years. The bad teams in sports make the bad deals because they get afraid that they're going to fall back into being bad. When they get that young star, they get scared. They get scared. And sometimes it works out great, and they look really smart. But sometimes it really doesn't. And you get guys with these atrocious contracts, guys like the Tennessee Titans have with Ryan Tannehill. Because Ryan Tannehill comes into Tennessee, and he looks okay. Like, he wasn't amazing, but he was solid. And they were like, here is a maximum deal, please stay. Please stay. Like, no. Like, that's not what you do. Like, you need to act like you've been there before and then deal with it. Because you can't just get afraid and just give all your money in to these players. Because then it's just going to lead to more players saying, oh, I can just get my money now. Why would I play out my contract? Why would I keep playing if I can get my contract 2 years before my contract ends? He's forcing an extension. 2 years. And he's saying, oh, I actually really wanted to play in Arizona. No, you didn't. You don't want to play in Arizona. You want money. And you knew that you keep having season-ending injuries. You keep having them. You keep having these big injuries, Kyler Murray. And he goes, I need my money. I need it because I can't play a full season. And I'm not going to get as much money in 2 years when I've had more injuries because I keep getting hurt. I don't think it's fully Kyler's fault. They haven't had great offensive line play. It's not. I'm not blaming Kyler, for his health, but he keeps getting hit and he keeps getting sacked. He plays in a tough division with Aaron Donald and Nick Bosa. Like, this is tough, but he's like, oh yeah, I'm scared because in 2 years I'm not getting as much money because I'm probably going to keep getting hurt because I keep not getting any offensive line play. So keep me. I think this is a horrible deal. Because I don't see it working. And the Cardinals fans and the Cardinals media, all the media things that I see when they're ranking coaches, Cliff Kingsbury's always in the top 10. He's always ranked high for me. And I'm looking at it like, why? What has he done? Like, he cannot finish a season. He can't do anything. Like, it's like if you forced a starting pitcher in baseball to play a full 9 innings every time. Like, he's gassed out in the 6th inning. He may have only given up 2 runs, but he finishes the game 9 innings, 12 earned runs, and a loss. Every year. Like, they need a closing coach with Cliff Kingsbury because he just cannot do it. He couldn't do it at Texas Tech, and he can't do it with the Cardinals. And Kyler Murray decided to take advantage of the Arizona Cardinals and get his money. And good for Kyler. He got his money. He got what he wanted. He chose football over baseball for money. Kyler's about the money. And I don't bash players that are about the money. Get your money. This is a job. He's about his money. But if you're trying to win as an NFL franchise, giving out contracts like this is not going to get you there. It's not going to get you there. Giving a quarterback that keeps having injury problems, that can't finish a season, even if he's healthy, he's not finishing the season well because he's just not playing well, or he's injured and he can't finish the season. It's one or the other. That's the most important time of the year. Would you rather have a quarterback, Matt, that plays great football weeks 1 through 6 and sucks the rest of the year? Or would you rather have a guy like Joe Flacco who would go out and play weeks 11 through 18 like the best quarterback that you could possibly have on your team?
I think it's pretty easy. However, I do want to bring up something. I don't think the lack of performance in the second half is necessarily a Kyler Murray problem.
Oh, that's totally fair.
And I think it's and also saying that a lot of the times he's been hurt, like you said, like they're like season ending. They're not really season ending, but they're just enough to make him not as athletic and not as effective.
Yeah.
And then you look at the Cardinals supporting cast, and it's not very good. That's why I think this contract is destined to fail. Is it a bad contract for the Cardinals? Yes, I think so. Is it a good contract for Kyler Murray? Hell yeah, I think it is. Because I think that he, like you were bringing up, like I'm afraid, like the big concern with him is, dude, you could get banged up. And that's probably why he was in a spot like, dude, you guys are either going to pay me or you're going to trade me because you haven't put anything around me besides you went and you got me Nuck. And now you got me Hollywood. So like, okay, there you go.
Oh, you can't
but
put anything around me.
Yeah.
AJ Green. They drafted a wide receiver. I mean, whether or not the move was good, besides the point. They're making moves, and it's just not working.
They drafted the wide receiver that he wanted, Rondell Moore. They did do that.
Yeah, terrible draft pick. I don't know why Rondell Moore was. I don't get the Rondell Moore hyped. And yeah, $160 million guaranteed is just so much for a quarterback. Like Kirk Cousins, at least he plays. He gives you mediocrity. That's why I call him Kirkland. But at least he pays. So when you give him guaranteed money, you know he's going to play that entire contract, and you know exactly what you're going to get, which is average quarterback play. Like consistently meh. Consistently bland. So you can give him a guarantee because you're like, I know what I'm getting. Kyler Murray is the opposite of a guarantee. Like Kyler Murray is a complete wild card. And it's going to look really bad if he keeps having these seasons where he and the Cardinals tail off at the end. Because I guarantee you this year, when the Cardinals start off the year, I don't know their schedule. When they start off the year 5-1, 7-2, whatever it is, and everyone goes, Kyler Murray's leading the league in touchdowns. Like every year Kyler's been in the league, always leading the league in touchdowns. This is the year of the MVP. Then you look at it 5 weeks later, and he's got 3 more touchdowns than he had 5 weeks ago, and they have 5 more losses. You're like, oh, wait a minute. What happened? Cliff and Kyler happened. And it's going to keep happening unless you separate them. But for some reason, they love him. Like the Ravens love Greg Roman.
Dude, I don't. You brought up like the Cliff Kingsbury top 10 stuff. I find that to be so insane. Like the only thing that Cliff has done is prove he hasn't. Oh, not prove anything. No, he has proven that he will fall apart in the second half of the season. He's done it like 8 or 9 seasons in a row if you go back to Texas Tech. And it's like very, very obvious. I don't know if he can adjust. I don't know if he runs out of plays because that's a thing that happens to some coordinators. They just literally run out of plays. I don't know which one it is. I don't know what it is. But there's a very clear – maybe it's the pace of play that he plays with where it's just like guys are just completely gassed by the end of the season and the defense is beat up. But, dude, it is – like that is what he has proven, that he is not good. He's proven he is not good. And so I just find it crazy. Because, like, if you're running into the same problem every single year, then the problem is it's likely you. It's not Mahomes or Kyler Murray that are, falling apart in the second half. I really don't think that's the case. I think it is literally just on Cliff. He's bad, dude. It's crazy that he gets ranked as, like, a top 10 guy, even, like, an above average, even an average coach, dude. He's got to be, like – and the thing is, he's a great quarterback evaluator. Bring him into your scouting department, have him pick the quarterbacks, right? But I don't know about Cliff as a head coach. I just think that we've seen year in and year out exactly what's going to happen. 49ers this year, they play them late in the season. When I saw that in the schedule, I said, hell yeah, we've lost the Cardinals. Lost to them twice last year. Lost to them week 1 the year before that. I would much rather play them late in the season. My confidence level is a lot higher playing the Cardinals in December than it is in September. It is completely night and day. So I don't have a lot of faith in this contract. If Kyler's able to stay healthy, I have some, but I don't think they're going to win. I just don't see it with Cliff. So unless you don't have Cliff, unless you clean up the offensive line, if Kyler can stay healthy, I think there's a lot of if this happens, then yeah, it'll be good. But you need like a bunch of stuff I just don't project to happen. So overall, I think it's a bad deal.
And looking at the Cardinals, they've drafted one good player in the last 5 drafts. Kyler Murray. One good player. They drafted Zaven Collins, Rondale Moore, Marco Wilson, Victor Dimukeje, Tay Gowan, James Wiggins, and Michael Mennett last year. The year before that, they drafted Isaiah Simmons, Josh Jones, Leki Fotu, Rashard Lawrence, Evan Weaver, and Eno Benjamin. They drafted Kyler.
Hey, Simmons is all right.
Yeah, Simmons is all right, but when you have the number 8 overall pick, Isaiah Simmons' production is not what you're looking for. They drafted Andy Isabella. Byron Murphy's not bad. Like, Hakeem Butler. The year before that, it was Josh Rosen, Christian Kirk, Chase Edmonds. The year before that was when they drafted Hassan Reddick and Budda Baker, which is really good. But like since
so, what you're telling me is that the real question is, how does not only Cliff Kingsbury have a job, but how does Steve Keim have a job as well?
Yeah, like you're giving Kyler an extension, and it's like okay, because this shows the fear because they can't bring in talent. They very obviously cannot bring in talent. And I do not like their draft that they had this year at all. I like Jesse Lukita, but he's a 7th round linebacker. Trey McBride is okay as a tight end. But like, they are not bringing in talent, and it shows that they're terrified of losing him because they know when they have the number 1 overall pick, they're probably not going to get, another great player. And so it shows that they panicked. And they got put in a situation and they said, we have to give him to you because we don't want to have another Josh Rosen. It's bad. Matt, do you have anything else to add onto this show?
No, I was gonna say I think it might be time to call it a night. Wrap up the first ever America's Finest Sports episode.
Yeah.
Excited to do it. Excited for next Monday. I will be on tomorrow doing Friar Talk here, so it's gonna be fun to do that. But yeah, looking forward to doing it. First night. I see who is it? Johnny Rocket. Johnny Rocket's been hanging out with us in the chat the whole time. The lone guy on YouTube. So appreciate the support, man. But yeah, looking forward to doing this. Gonna be doing AFS probably. I think it's 4 nights this week, and then probably 5 nights moving forward after that. Should be our live streams around this time every night. But we'll be sending out a schedule a bunch. So if you guys follow us on social media, either of us will probably be posting it out for quite a while until we build up the AFS social medias. But thank you guys for listening. Been super fun tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for watching, especially on YouTube, coming through to the brand new YouTube channel. If you're watching on TikTok, next time we'll have it where Matt and I are both live. This was our first time ever trying to attempt a live stream together, which is why we had a little bit of technical difficulties. But thanks, guys, for coming through. I'll be live on Wednesday talking basketball. So thanks, everybody, and we'll see all of you again next time.